impact on the vote, and for those voters who are having serious economic problems, that seems to be producing support for Hillary Clinton. Wolf?
All right, thanks very much, Bill. We're going to be getting more of these exit poll numbers coming into the Situation Room. Let's go out to Indianapolis right now. Joining us, the former governor, the current senator, a Hillary Clinton supporter, Senator Evan Bayh. Thanks very much, Senator, for coming in.
Good to be with you, Wolf.
Everyone says the math is really working against her right now. No matter what happens between now and June 3rd, the final primaries, how does she turn the math around?
Well, Wolf, we'd like to think we're kind of important here tonight in our state. And if she starts winning in places like Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, I think that will begin to turn the math around. And ultimately, if she can prevail in the total popular vote, so that Senator Obama has more pledged delegates, but she has more actual voters, then I think the superdelegates will begin to look at things like electability. Who has the best chance to beat John McCain? And so it's that kind of dynamic that needs to take place and can take place.
But since Super Tuesday, the superdelegates, by our estimates, they seem to have gone about 3-1 in favor of Obama. They seem to be moving in his direction, even though he's lost some very important primaries in recent weeks. So how do you explain that?
Well, he did have a stretch there where he won, I think, 11 states in a row. And so all those states have committee chairmen and congressional members and that sort of thing. But she's been doing better since Pennsylvania, and I think particularly, if she does well here in our state, it's very close. I don't know which way it's going to go. But then she goes on next week, I think, is West Virginia, and then after that in Kentucky. I think then you can begin to see people begin to reevaluate. And you look at some of the numbers now, Wolf. She runs about 8 points better than Barack in Ohio, about 11 points better in Florida. And you look at some of the key constituencies, seniors, women, independents, blue-collar voters, she does better among those groups. And so, again, if she can win the popular vote, I think that's important, then we'll have to look at things like electability.
What do you say to those critics, including Barack Obama, who say she's simply pandering for votes by agreeing with John McCain that there should be a 3-month gas tax holiday?
Well, I'd say a couple things, Wolf. Barack's a good guy. But he voted for a gas tax holiday 3 times.
But he says that was a mistake. He acknowledges publicly that was a mistake. He learned from that mistake.
What was he pandering? I mean, it's one thing to make a mistake and change your mind. It's another thing to accuse someone of pandering when you did the same thing yourself, not once or twice, but 3 times. And so that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is, folks out here are really hurting. As Bill Schneider mentioned, 65%. The economy is the top issue. It's affected many people. And I think there's a fair amount of skepticism about any political pledges. And we all agree this is not a long-term solution. But in the short run, I think people say, look, a little help, even if it's $50 or $60, that's better than nothing. And if the choice is $10 billion more in oil company profits or $10 billion to help hard-pressed motorists, well, trying to help hard-pressed motorists is not a bad thing to do.
I wrote about this today on my blog at cnnpolitics.com, Senator. Michigan is already scheduled to hold a statewide primary on August 5th. Florida is scheduled to hold one on August 26th. That would be the second day of the Democratic Convention in Denver. Would it be wise if neither Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama has this thing wrapped up after June 3rd, to let the Democrats, to let the people in Michigan and Florida have their say in this process, even though they were stripped of their delegates because they moved up their primaries to January?
Well, I think we need to find a way for them to have a say, Wolf. There are no perfect answers at this point. Obviously, having an election in the middle of our convention would kind of delay things. But look, they need to have a say. And we can either count the votes the way they are or find some way for them to re-vote. And so however we work through that, I do think it's important. They had record turnouts in both those states. More people voted in Florida than any election ever. And they voted for Congress, for state legislature, to amend their constitution. I mean, those were legal votes. So if we can have them vote again, yes. If it's not possible for them to vote again, well, then I think counting them the way they are is preferable to just disenfranchising them.
Would it be better to have those votes again coming up in August 5th and August 26th, or let there be a credentials floor fight in Denver?
Well, I'm a big one for letting people decide this, and if it's got to go that late, then I suppose that's better, because, we just can't take 2 big states like that, or really any states, and just say they don't count people's votes. So if we can find a way for them to have a new vote, I'm not speaking for the Clinton campaign here, I'm just giving my own personal opinion, I think that would be preferable than just some artificial splitting them 50-50 or denying them any vote whatsoever.
Senator Bayh, thanks for coming in.
Good to be with you, Wolf.